Hello friends, welcome back to the Mama and a Manse podcast. I am your host Christy. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Mama and a Manse. If you don't know what the heck a manse is, it is clergy housing, and my husband is a pastor, so we live in a manse. The Presbyterians call them that. Other denominations might call them a parsonage, or I believe Catholics call it a rectory. And I am the mom of 5 children, 6 months, almost 3, 6, 7, and 9. Sorry, we are in the middle of our birthday season, which overlaps Christmas. We have 2 before Christmas and 2 within 2 months after Christmas. So I get really confused about their ages during this time of year because they all change, and some of them have changed and some haven't. It's crazy. This is a knitting podcast, so if you've come by because of the title of this episode, thinking you're gonna see something weird and kinky, nope, just yarn, just knitting, so bye-bye. New and returning visitors that are looking for a knitting podcast, welcome. I'm so glad that you are spending this time hanging out with me, and I hope you like something that you see during this time. You can join our Ravelry group. It is Mama and a Manse Podcast. There's a link down below. That's where you can find show notes. We will be having a giveaway. So if you want to go ahead and go into the introduction thread and introduce yourself, then sorry, I have kittens going crazy over bags over here. Go ahead and get your name, introduce yourself, so we can get to know each other, and I have a tendency to lurk before introducing myself for quite some time, but there will be a giveaway coming up very soon for that, so go ahead and introduce yourself. I think that's all of the beginning. So I have this week another Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, which was a, not really game, but an event that happened on Instagram. It was hosted by Tega Hillard. And from the Crafty Knitter 7, I received 5 minis all the way from Canada to go in my pinwheel scrap blanket. So I am super excited about that. Oh my gosh. Hold on. This is Pineapple, currently chilling out in the Honeybee Knits bag that I just took yarn out of. I don't think this kitten has been seen yet, so there you go. Alright, Pineapple, this is not a sleeping bag for you. Okay, and I will be right back with finished objects. My finished object this week is my angel in my tiny pocket. It's a size 8 made for Lizzie. Can you scoot back a little bit, sweetie? Scoot all the way back. There you go.
Now we can see my face.
Yes. So inside is the little angel. I don't know if you can see it from here.
It's a cutie. Why can't I go closer?
You can, I guess. You want to show them in the pocket? You're too close now. There's an angel in her pocket for comfort. This is in Fabulous Fibers, Not So Shy Violet, the Mary Ann weight. And the pattern is by Melissa Kemmerer, and it will be coming out, I believe, early next week. This was a test knit, and the way it's fitting her right now, she just turned 6, but I made her an 8, so it is fitting her kind of as a tunic, and the sleeves are cuffed, but normally they wouldn't be, but she should get quite a bit of wear out of this. Alright, for yarn porn, I'm going to show you a few of the things that I've received recently. I did order for the first time from Turtle Pearl, and I had bought the Knitting Expat Cozy Collection and Wanderlust Collection, which is a sock club for next year where you get, it's alternating, and you get, if you're doing both, you end up getting a sock pattern each month. So I will be working on that, and the free bonus pattern that you get for signing up for that is Mistletoe Kisses, and she made it in this yarn, in the non-glittery version of this yarn, but there's glitter, so I need it. So I picked this up, and while I was there, saw What Does It Mean, which has big stripes of gray and then the little rainbow stripe all together, and so I had to have that as well. And then clear back in October, I had told my husband there's advent calendars for yarn, and you know, here's a couple that I like, you know, I mean, laying on pretty thick with the hints. But I told him, like, most of them you had to order by like October 15th or something that seems super early. And about November 1st, he was messing around on his phone, and he's like, what were those advent calendars you liked again? Well, you can't get them now, dude. But anyways, so my local yarn store had some opal ones that they put up on Facebook a few days ago, so I ran up there and got that. So I've been doing that. This thing is huge. I've been putting them back in so I can do it, but the kids have been super excited, particularly Lizzie, to open these up each day and see what's in there. There's been a lot of oranges, so I'm interested to see if there's going to be like a lot of other colors or not. And then the last thing that I got a couple podcasts ago, I was trying to upload and the night before Thanksgiving and was really bored while I was doing it. So I accidentally bought some more yarn, and I got some Honeybee Knits. This is my first from her as well. This is Friends Forever and Let's Make a Teal. And it is super glittery, of course. But I loved this. I had a hard time picking between this one. I think there was a pink one that I really, really was in love with, but I ended up going with the teal. And then I also got Get It Together Levi, which I think might be named after the W2TF podcast guy. But this is also sparkly. I'm a little bit on a sparkly kick right now. But why not? I mean, right? Oh, and the other thing that I did get was my row 1 yarns. Oh my gosh. I just ran all over the house looking for the paper that told me what this yarn was. Like, dug through my closet, everything. And it was in the bag. Anyways, so this month is Zen Yarn Garden. And these are bigger minis than I've gotten in the months that I've been in it. Sometimes there's like 10 colors. This month there's 10 colors. Sometimes there's 20. Whatever it is, you get 100 grams. How many ever colors there are, you still get 100 grams. So these ones are bigger than the ones that I was using in my pinwheel blanket that you've seen already. And this is 90 merino 10 nylon. So it is super, super soft. I've never felt a 90-10. I see the difference in the feel compared to the others. And you always get a dingle dop with that. I can't tell if it's just like blowing out or not, but it's a little reindeer. And also I forgot, because it fell somewhere and now I don't see it. I think the cat took it. Oh, nope, there it is. My honeybee knits yarn also came with a little progress keeper. It's a little bee. And really the only progress keepers that I have are the ones from row 1, so I'm excited to have these. Try that out. And actually, when I ordered the Honeybee Knits yarn, I didn't know that she had a podcast. So that's a podcast that I've been loving this past week and checking out. And she is also doing Vlogmas, which I've really been enjoying. I think that I am subscribed to about 5 people who are doing Vlogmas, and basically they're making little video podcasts every day, I guess until Christmas. Some of them are longer than others. Diane from Suburban Stitcher hers are like 10 minutes or less. Some of them are like 30. So it just depends, but it's kind of fun to see a little bit more behind the scenes, especially like people who live in different places. So Brooklyn Knit Folk and Knitting Expat are both like in Brooklyn, New York, which is truthfully to this Midwestern girl the same thing. And just seeing like them walking like 45 minutes to work, or just, it's so different there. And also something else that I noticed with Suburban Stitcher was that they are still playing baseball in Texas. That is crazy. I know around here everybody is so glad when baseball season ends, and that's like in July, the beginning of July. So it's crazy to me that she's still going to baseball games. Another one that is doing Vlogmas is My Creative Garage, and she is in Australia. So she's actually going into summer instead of winter, so that makes it pretty interesting. And she has some really amazing colors in her yarn, so I really like to check her out. A relatively new one, I think she has 6 episodes out, is Knit 1, Breathe 2, and she kind of incorporates like meditation type mindfulness things into hers as well as the knitting, and so I've been checking that one out and getting to know her. And then the Codependent Knitters is one that I had watched their first podcast, and it was a little bit rough, as was mine, no judgment. And so like I was like, well, I don't know. And then I went back and watched some more, and I just really had fun with them. And they showed a bag that I really, really just loved and had to have. And so we will be having a giveaway from them soon in connection to that. But they very kindly gave me a shout out on Instagram, and so I know that there are a few new people checking me out because of that, and that was amazing. I cannot tell you how like super special it is to feel love like that from the knitting community. It's just really cool. And so they are definitely one that you should check out and subscribe to as well. Right, I will be back in just a minute. Okay, so this weekend we spent some time learning how to knit. I started them out with bulky weight yarn on 16-inch circulars. They're making hats. I cast on using the German twisted cast on, and then did the first row so that it wouldn't be so tight to learn to knit into. And they just wanted to share with you what they've done. So do you want to hold that up so they can see it in the camera? And then Emma, you can put it closer. What did you do right there?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we'll have to fix that later. We'll show them this side, okay?
Okay.
So this is Emma's, and this is what she's done since Sunday. And what did you want to tell them about your hat?
It's Hufflepuff colors, because I'm in Hufflepuff.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes.
Are you going to show it, or you want me to?
I want you to.
Okay. And then Isaiah had worked on this, so he's got some done as well.
Mine is orange because it's my favorite color.
Yes. Maybe we should say, do you want to tell them your name and how old you are?
I am Emma, and my name is...
How old are you?
And I'm 9 years old.
Do you want to tell how old you are?
How about we go Emma,
Okay.
Isaiah?
You can introduce yourself.
I am Isaiah, and I am 7 years old. No, you're 1.
And who are you?
I'm Elizabeth.
And how old are you?
6.
Okay. And Lizzie chose not to show her knitting today. Let's ask you first, Emma, what did you find the hardest about learning to knit?
Well, at first I couldn't really hook it around and pull it through
With the needle?
with the needle, and that was really frustrating. But once I got the hang of it, it got pretty easy, and I got swimming like a fish.
Okay. And what did you think what do you think of knitting?
I really like it now that I understand it and know how to do it.
Good. Okay, so Isaiah, what did you find the hardest about knitting?
Holding the string to make sure I do it right,
I can't do that.
and remembering in which side to pull down on it. That was pretty hard to remember.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about it?
That is my favorite color.
That is good. What did you find anything hard about knitting, Lizzie?
The hardest part was everything.
What was your favorite part? You don't know?
You teaching me.
Okay. Elizabeth just turned 6 and surprisingly immediately was able to do the stitch. I was shocked at how well she was putting the needle in right and wrapping the stitch and scooping the yarn through. They all chose to go continental, and because that's the way that I mostly knit now, I was fine with that, and especially since all 3 of them wanted to do it that way, then I wasn't trying to show one left-handed yarn management, one right-handed. And Lizzie did really well at scooping and bringing the yarn through. She did a little bit on her hat, and then she wanted to play with other things, and that's fine. She picked up on it pretty good. Isaiah had worked on this before, and he got
time ago.
He got about 3 rows done.
I didn't
And
get much done.
His is looking really good. There's no, it looks great. And then Emma,
There's a very loose thread.
that's the end, sweetie. At the end, we'll take care of it when you're all finished. Emma really took off on her own. I was helping her with this first one, but at the time, I was helping Lizzie. Basically, we were knitting kind of with her sitting on my lap like this. And Emma just went to town on it, and then we were actually going to town, and she asked if she could take her knitting with her, which I was like, absolutely, Mommy does it all the time. And so she worked on it in the van where I was not able to be watching her at all. And when we got back, she was far enough that she wanted to do her first black stripe. And so I showed her how to put the yarn in for that. When she went to switch back, she did it by herself. We do have an issue right here that has happened today that we're going to need to do something about.
I didn't know how I did it.
I don't know how you did that either. I think you just flipped it all the way around. But truthfully, other than the fact that we have that mistake to fix, I didn't tell her how to do the little floats. And she got them pretty good. So she doesn't have any big holes because she did a row without me even realizing that she had switched. And I was like, oh, I didn't tell you how to like twist the yarn to go up. And I looked at it and it was fine. So we'll just fix this little thing and she's good to go. You're pretty far.
Oh, I just have like this much left.
Yeah, you could probably,
Wear it next
depending
week.
on how deep you want it.
I might want it like a
There's
little bit.
dropped stitch.
Yeah, I dropped it.
That's okay.
I couldn't find it.
It's your first hat. You should see the first hat that I made Isaiah. It had holes in it and he still wore it when he was born. It was fine.
I only miss one stitch. One
So,
stitch.
whenever we have updates for knitting with the kids, then we'll
Wait,
bring
this
them on.
video is going to be called Knitting with the Kids?
Yeah, it'll be part of it, part of the podcast. And so, also, we'll have kids and husband. The husband decided he wanted to learn how to cast on from the beginning. So eventually when we have time to sit and do that, but most of the time it's one or the other of us that's with the baby. So that may be a little bit, we'll see. All right, can you guys say bye?
Bye.
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 Can I stay?
Can you turn it off?
Which one?
All right. Today I am going to go over some of the socks that I've made in the past. I am not a good sock knitter. I am just kind of getting to the point where I like the socks that I like, or that I make. So I was just going to share some of my past stuff. I think that newer people who are newer to knitting or that don't do a lot of stuff yet, or they haven't tried socks or different things, sweaters, everything like that. It can be intimidating when you watch things and everything is just, when you watch podcasts and then everything is just all this gorgeousness. So I thought that it would be fun to kind of like share things from the past so you don't have to feel so bad. So when I showed my pinwheel blanket a couple of weeks ago, I said that the like pink and green yarn in one of my blocks was from my first pair of socks. But in collecting my socks for this podcast, I think that this pair is my first. And I don't remember, I know that I knit them when we were visiting my mom in Nebraska one year, and it was either 7 years ago or 6 years ago. It was either the year before Lizzie or the year after, like right after she was born. So I remember these being horribly frustrating and I hated them, and I think I had to force myself to make the other one. So check out how the light shines on my legs. Woohoo! At least it hides like my redheaded skin because you could usually see my pores really bad. Anyways, so these I had no idea how to cast on, or maybe this is a bind off. I can't even remember. You know, they're not as bad as I used to think they were. I believe they are a wrap and turn heel, which was incredibly scary to me, and I couldn't figure out how to do them. I can't get over like how blown out my leg is. It just looks like so weird. I used to not ever wear these. This is a little bit tight when I'm trying to put it on, but it's not too bad once it's on. And I think because I've gotten used to knitted socks that maybe they feel a little bit better than they used to. Things that used to kind of bug me don't. Truthfully, now I would say they weren't that bad, but I know that this was... I almost cried trying to make these things. They were so horribly hard for me at the time. And I taught myself to knit, and then I taught myself how to do everything after that. And this was before I really knew about YouTube or that there were knitting things on YouTube. And so now I think it would be a lot easier to learn. But back then it was horrifying. So that was, let's call it 6 years ago. Sorry, I've had a nasal cold going on all week. And I have a pretty big schnoz, and it's been so full of snot that to fill that up with that much snot, a lot. Yeah, I was gonna podcast yesterday, and I was too stuffed up. I didn't think I could breathe and talk enough to record, so now I am doing it today. So I think about 4 years ago, I did buy this yarn for these socks. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, so if you can tell, one of these socks is a different length than the other. And they are, one is looser too. This is the first like expensive yarn that I bought for socks. And I attempted to do it from the toe up, even though the pattern was written for cuff down, because I had just learned how to do that, and I thought it was easier and better. So I was very confused about this. I think I actually tried to use like 9-inch circulars, but truthfully, I don't know whatever happened to those because I've bought different 9-inch circulars recently and I have not seen those anywhere. But this is the one that actually fits a little bit better, but as you can see, like I've got all of this. So these won't really go in any kind of shoe or boot or anything because they're just too big. I can't stand bunching when I put it in, or if you put it into a boot and then it like pulls your heel up onto the back of your leg. That really drives me crazy. This one is quite a bit bigger. There's all of that. I don't know if you can even tell that. This is so weird. But also you can kind of tell that the heel sticks off. I tried to make them the same, but this was probably about 4 years ago. I still wasn't super great at that. This was probably my 3rd pair because I did make a white or like a pinkish and greenish pair, but they have been eaten by the house as well. Though I thought I did recently wear them. So then, about 2 years ago, right after we moved here, I tried to make a pair of socks. And all these socks were just washed, so any stuff sticking to them is just craziness. It's not that they're dirty, because I haven't even been wearing them around. So I tried to make these socks from a Knit Picks book that I had gotten, and oh my gosh. So I guess they're not that bad. I don't know. They were way too big. Like, they don't look that bad. My husband has size 15 feet, and he has been wearing these socks And I have small feet. I'm 5'9", and I wear a 7.5 or an 8. Like most of my sister, I'm the tallest one in my family, and everybody in my family has bigger feet than I do. So I guess for my height, I have small feet. These are really big, so my husband kind of confiscated them. As you can maybe see, he's felted them up quite lovely. I've told him that I will not be knitting him any socks until he gets a pedicure and does something, because this is what he's done to these. See that? It's so felted, there's stuff felted into it. Gross. Okay, and then, excuse me. And then I really liked rainbows. So I decided, I had some Knit Picks Felici that was rainbow. And I wanted to use the entire skein because it comes in 50-gram balls, which is not really enough to make a regular sock. If you're making shorties, it probably is, but I think I usually use 60 or 70. And so you always buy 2. So I was like, well, I'm going to use the whole thing. I'm just going to knit until I've used it all up. So I have knee highs in rainbows. I mostly wear these around the house because most of my boots come to about here, and this is very loud and very bright and pretty crazy. It's a little Dr. Seussy to have sticking out of your boots. But I still love them, and they're cute, and they are rainbowy. It just cracks me up that I was so determined that I was gonna go till the end, and then they ended up all the way up at my knees. So these actually fit decently well. I did like a 3-1 rib on them and did that all the way up. And I didn't do like a separate ribbing for the cuff. And they feel nice. They will go into boots pretty well. And these were 2 at a time toe up. So the top cast on is a little bit tighter than I would like, but it goes up and over my calf, and so I guess it's fine. And then I spent quite a bit of time this summer trying to really perfect my sock knitting like gauge. Because I want to be able to put my foot into a shoe and wear them without it like bunching a whole bunch. So I wanted to figure out what needle. So this was my first attempt, and I believe this might have been I think this was the 1.5. I feel like I did 1 and a 2, but I can't remember. And this was the first time that I did an afterthought heel. So this is a cut-in afterthought heel like Susan B. Anderson does. Because these are just washed, that's probably why all of them seem like they're fitting me better. But these are too big. This is what the heel does. And if I wore these around the house for about 5 minutes, they would start sliding around and stuff because they're too big. The heel is much too long for me. And I like a really tight, thick fabric for my socks. And so I knew that this wasn't going to be the right one for me. So the next thing I actually tried was the ones. and these are actually about perfect. I did these toe up. Again, my cast off is, or my bind off is still not stretchy enough. It will go, but I'm stretching it to its limit when I put it on. And I believe this is the first time I did the Fish Lips Kiss Heel, which fits really nice. And they are a much thicker fabric, like they don't move around on my foot very much. And these were on a 1, which is a 2.25, I believe, millimeter. And so 1s are what I go with on everything. For my socks now. So once I did that, I thought, oh, well, the only thing with these is that they are a little bit too long. So after I wear them, there'll be stuff hanging off the end. The actual size of my foot, I have not been able to get so far. Then I tried to make some Rose City rollers, but then they got dried, and they did not like that. So this had a heel flap and gusset on it, which quite honestly I hated, and I probably will not ever do again. It was extremely fiddly. I don't know if it should like that on that side. I can't move it on that side. You can kind of see right here how it's really, it seems like it's really pulling the stitches right there. Of course, it's shrunk a lot. So I gave these to my daughter, Emma, because they don't fit me. That's why they're so dirty on the bottom. They've been washed, but she's already stained them up pretty bad. So yeah, definitely I don't want my socks going through the dryer because it seemed like it really shrunk them up. So what I've learned is that I prefer to knit toe down or toe up, this way, from the toe to the top. That's the way I would rather do it, because then I can put on the sock. I have a really hard time being like, oh, I have to make sure that I have enough yarn, even though I should have enough yarn and things like that. And so it's a lot more, not really stressful, but kind of like there's a little bit of busyness in my mind that's going on, thinking I've got to make sure I keep enough yarn for everything. But I kind of have decided not to knit toe-up socks anymore because I can't seem to get a bind off that is as loose as I would prefer. This is Jenny's surprisingly stretchy cast off or bind off, and it's still being stretched to the max when I put it over my heel. And so there's that. And I do like a more rounded toe, like was in the Rose City roller, than this wedge. And I think that it fits my foot better when it's that way as well. And I haven't seen any, you can't drink my tea, Tiger. I haven't seen any rounded toe patterns for toe up. So, and I really enjoy the German twisted cast on or old Norwegian cast on that I've been doing lately. And so I really like how that makes the cuff. And so for now, at least, that's how I'm going to be doing my socks. So currently, it is my goal, I don't think I can put both of these on. Might be, I don't think I'm flexible enough for that. So, awkward and weird. And of course I put on the foot that... So I'm doing a Hermione's Everyday Sock in the Pagoda colorway by One Twisted Tree. And the heels, toes, and cuffs are in the Love Potion Update 9.2. And it is sparkly. I don't know if you can see the sparkly. I'm doing these cuff down, obviously. I did a twisted rib up here, 1 by 1, with a German twisted cast on. Did the Hermione's Everyday Sock. This is my first contrast heel, as you've seen all of my heels, you know that, and cuff. And then I'll be doing my toe when I get to it. It is my goal to have 2 pairs of Christmas socks before Christmas, obviously, and this will be the first. Even though this isn't necessarily a Christmas colorway, I kind of like it for a Christmas colorway. I think I can wear it all year round. But I really like how the pagoda looks in this texture. There you can kind of see some sparklies. There's teals and greens and white, and it's not really red, but it's kind of like a pinky purple, I don't know. And of course it matches what's in the update color, the Love Potion color. So it's just all kinds of gorgeousness. I love it. I did the Fish Lips Kiss heel on this one as well. I did make the decision to stop my, with any heel, you're decreasing down to a certain point, usually about 1/3 of it that you have left in between your wraps and turns, or your German short rows, or your fish lip kissy faces, whatever. Hey, don't drink my tea. Kittens are as bad as children. I actually decided, instead of going down to the 10, then I would do 12 and see if having a little bit shallower heel would work for me. And so far I'm kind of liking it. Obviously I'm not wearing the whole sock yet, so we'll see. But I really like this. I love these socks. I love everything about them. So I'm very excited to have these. And then I will do, once these are done, hopefully in the next couple days, truthfully, because I mean, this is how far I am from the heel, working down the foot. And then I will do the Mistletoe Kisses pattern by Knitting Expat, Mina Phillip, in the Mistletoe Kisses by Turtle Pearl after that. So that's exciting. Okay. I think that's all I really have to share with you today. If there's anything that you're wondering about, there's a questions thread on the Ravelry group that you can put those questions in, and I will try to address them. Whether it's a question for me, or a question about knitting, or anything I've talked about, whatever. And then I guess life around the manse, it's been a pretty busy week. Our daughter Elizabeth's birthday was on Friday, and she turned 6, and we also, my husband had a wedding rehearsal that day and a wedding the next day. The church has a sort of like a garage sale where everybody in town can donate stuff that they don't want anymore, and then other people can come in, or the same people can come in on Sunday, and it's basically like a free garage sale that they can come and get anything that they need. And there were probably a couple hundred people that came through and got stuff from that, and that was a huge success. I told you that I've been watching Vlogmas videos. I had an amazing knitting date on Monday night. It was so wonderful and refreshing, and if you don't have a knitting friend, really start reaching out. I've actually found some people that are in my area on Instagram, and there's something very, I don't know, it's just so lovely to have somebody who's interested in something that you're interested in. Not all your friends have to like the exact same things that you like, but when you have some friends who do, it is really great to have that camaraderie. And that just made me feel just happy, and that's great. And then I had promised myself that I wasn't going to talk about the wind in Nebraska because Jamie from Cozy Ups with the Sitchin Sisters was like, what's that state that she lives in? It's really windy there. And she always talks about the wind. So I promised I wasn't going to. And then yesterday, the wind was blowing so hard. We had a wind advisory, and I actually even thought about like getting a video. We're driving home from Lincoln after a meeting. Sorry, there's a cat going across the cord. And there's like corn husks flying across the road and leaves all over the place, and it's just blowing like crazy. You can just hear it howling outside of the van while you're trying to drive. And today, there was just enough snow. It wasn't on the ground, but you could see it blowing across the highway when we went into town. It's windy here. Like, what else am I going to talk about? It's Nebraska. I mean, we have corn and we have wind. And football, but that hasn't been very good lately, so I'm not going to go there. Anyways, I think that's about it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe and go over to the Ravelry group, introduce yourself, start talking. I am on Instagram. You can find me there pretty much every day. And I want to thank you for spending this time with me and for coming back. I am very excited about all of the new people who've been joining lately. And it's just really fun to get to know people and just see stuff on Instagram. Especially, a lot of people have started following me after Dawn from the Codependent Knitters kind of gave me a shout out on there. And I don't know, it's really fantastic to have you, and I'm really glad that you came to spend time with me today. So wherever you are, have fun with your knitting this week and make some magic with those sticks and strings. Bye until next week.
Yarn Tangler. You should put hashtag Yarn Tangler and then send it to Kirsten.